thoughts on that 90 minutes, Jim?
I thought Hibs were the better team over the whole piece and deserved the victory in the end. The first half was a non-event as far as we're concerned in terms of what we put into it, and then we had a 20-minute spell just after half time where made a couple of changes, and I thought both Middleton and Trapanovsky had a positive impact, and obviously we get that goal and get ourselves back into it, but I thought Hibs finished the game stronger then as well for the last 15-20 minutes and got the third goal. But I think that's ultimately what it boils down to is the fashion in which we concede the goals. Far too easy. The first one's a mistake. The ball is going behind us, it's going out to nobody, and we actually turn it back into the dangerous area for the first one. The second one, the shape is poor and we get done with one ball in behind, and then the third one is a free header 6 yards out. So it's very hard to legislate for those types of goals, and that's the disappointing thing from my aspect of it. I thought Hibs were the better team. I thought they looked sharper, had more energy, more athleticism, more pace, the top end of the pitch, and they're just really, really dangerous team on the counter-attack.
Disappointing given what's at stake at this point of the season.
Yeah, it wasn't down to lack of effort or commitment on the players' part. That's not what I'm trying to say. I mean, sometimes you get beaten by the better team, and I think if you look at the players that Hibs have got, I think individually across the board, I just thought that they were better than us, and that is of course disappointing. Given what is at stake, but we're very much still in the fight. We're still with the result now in Paisley. Still only 3 points behind Aberdeen in fourth. But still got them to play, and obviously a massive 3 games coming up now, starting with St Mirren next weekend.
Is that the thing you've got to get across to the boys? You've had such a great season. A, you don't want it to peter out, but B, don't worry about these last 2 games are still so. Not don't worry about them, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Straight on the 3 ahead, because there's still
I think that's an important thing to point out. Is like I'm not going to sit here now as manager and start throwing my players under the bus, because they have been fantastic for me. I said that to them down in the dressing room. Results like today are hugely disappointing because we believed coming into the game that we could get a positive result. We knew it was going to be difficult. We knew, I think that Hibs have had one defeat in the last 22-23 fixtures, so we know how good a team they are. But I just think today was a kind of a reality check in terms of where we need to get our levels to in terms of that energy and that pace. It was an extremely tough result to take, but again you go back to the goals. They are situations that we as a group have defended a lot better over the course of the campaign.
Was Declan Gallagher still carrying something occasionally, like he might be in a wee bit of discomfort?
We've got players all throughout the team. I'm pretty sure we're no different to any other team in the league at this moment in time. We've got a number of players starting the game today that are carrying knocks and that aren't quite at 100%, but that's the situation we're in. We don't have huge strength and depth, obviously, in that back area in particular. We lost Graham out, so it's something we've had to put up with all season. I'm not going to start making excuses now. We've went without key players for large periods of this campaign, but I don't want the season to peter out, and we're still very much in that scrap for the top 3. Okay, catching Hibs now is going to be difficult with 3 games to go, but we still have to believe that we can make inroads into Aberdeen, and that's got to be the mindset. But of course, right now, sitting here, bitterly disappointed and feeling a little bit flat. As you can imagine, the dressing room is the same, but we have put ourselves in this position. We have had a good season. To be still in the fight for these European places, I think, is great, but that doesn't give us much after today's result.
Is Manny just muscle fatigue, or was there anything more serious with his injury?
Hopefully not too serious. He was kind of feeling his left groin, I think it was, in the end. So, but yeah, like I said, look, there's a number of players in the group, without naming names, that aren't quite where they would like to be at. But it's been a long, grueling campaign. You know, we've had to ask a lot of the group. You know, we've probably got the smallest squad in the Premiership this season. Probably used the fewest amount of players, given the size of the squad. But that's just part and parcel of it. We have to roll our sleeves up now and go again next week.
And just finally from me, you mentioned Christian Trapanovsky there. Real direct running, aggression, and a goal. Obviously, is that more like what you want from him consistently? I know he's had his injury problems, but a little bit more like the guy who arrived in last summer. Yeah, I mean
he always makes a positive impact coming off the bench, but we want him to be making positive impacts from the first minute when he's in the starting 11. And Christian knows he has to perform at that level consistently to stay in the team. We can't have it one every 5 games, but he showed today the quality that he's got. He's when he's on it and he's direct and he's playing with a freedom and being brave and going and taking defenders on, then he's a real handful. And he took his goal really well today. He was unlucky with 1 or 2 other little half chances, but no, look, I can't, as I said, argue about the final outcome. Credit to Hibs, they were the better team on the day, and we have to accept that.
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, Jim. Thank you.